The old cowboys at practice laughed at Lane Frost's constant smile. "Smiling proves you're weak in this business, kid," growled the veteran. The 20-year-old cowboy just grinned wider and climbed onto the most dangerous bull in the pen. What happened next silenced every doubter in that arena forever. Subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Have you ever had to prove your strength through kindness? Let's start this incredible story. The Oklahoma sun blazed down on the dusty practice arena as Lane Frost adjusted his worn leather gloves. At 20 years old, he was already making waves in the junior circuit, but today felt different. A group of seasoned cowboys had gathered near the chutes, their weathered faces stern as they watched him warm up. "Look at that kid," muttered Buck Morrison, a grizzled veteran whose best days were long behind him. "Always grinning like he's at some county fair instead of preparing for real bull riding." Morrison spat into the dirt and crossed his arms. He'd been riding for 15 years and had the scars to prove it, but championship buckles had always eluded him. Watching this young upstart with his infectious smile and natural talent stirred something bitter in his chest. "Hey, Frost," Morrison called out, his voice carrying across the arena. "You mind telling me what's so funny about bull riding?" Lane looked up from stretching, that trademark smile never leaving his face. "Nothing funny about it, sir. I just figure if you're not enjoying what you're doing, why do it at all?" The other cowboys exchanged glances. There was something almost insulting about the kid's optimism. They'd all learned the hard way that rodeo was about pain, grit, and surviving 8 seconds of pure violence. Smiles were for the crowd, not for the riders. "Enjoying it?" Morrison laughed harshly. "Boy, you clearly don't understand what we do here. This isn't some playground sport. Bulls are 1,000-pound killers, and that smile of yours is going to get wiped right off your face when you meet a real one." "I've ridden plenty of bulls, Mr. Morrison," Lane replied respectfully, but his confidence was unmistakable. "Practice bulls, rodeo school bulls," Morrison shot back. "You want to see what real bull riding looks like? You want to test that theory about smiling your way through everything?" The arena fell quiet. Even the other riders stopped what they were doing to listen. Morrison was building up to something, and everyone could feel it. "There's a bull in chute 7 that hasn't been ridden in over a year," Morrison continued, his voice getting louder. "Tornado Negro. 15 riders have tried him in the last 6 months. 15 riders got sent to the hospital or worse. That animal doesn't just buck, he hunts. He remembers every rider who's ever climbed on his back, and he takes it personal." Lane glanced toward chute 7, where the massive black bull stood motionless, his dark eyes seeming to assess everything around him. Even from a distance, Tornado Negro radiated an aura of contained violence that made the other bulls look tame. "So here's my challenge, Smiley," Morrison said, stepping closer. "You climb on Tornado Negro, and if you can last 8 seconds with that grin still on your face, I'll eat every word I've ever said about you. But when he dumps you in 3 seconds flat, when you're lying in the dirt wondering why your back doesn't work anymore, maybe you'll understand that this game isn't about happiness. It's about survival." The arena was dead silent now. Even the bulls seemed to sense the tension. Lane looked around at the faces watching him. Some curious, some skeptical, others openly hostile. He could walk away. No one would blame him for refusing to ride a bull with Tornado Negro's reputation just to satisfy an old cowboy's wounded pride. Instead, Lane's smile grew even wider. "Well, Mr. Morrison," he said, walking toward chute 7, "I reckon there's only one way to settle this." The walk to chute 7 felt like a mile, though it was barely 50 yards. Word had spread quickly through the practice facility, and riders from other arenas began gathering around the chutes. Some had heard stories about Tornado Negro, but had never seen him in action. Others knew exactly what they were about to witness and shook their heads in disbelief. "Kid's got more courage than sense," whispered one rider to his buddy. "That bull's ended more careers than bad knees and broken bones combined." As Lane approached the chute, he could hear Tornado Negro shifting inside, his massive hooves scraping against the metal flooring. The bull weighed nearly 2,000 pounds and stood close to 6 feet at the shoulder. His black coat seemed to absorb the sunlight, making him appear even more imposing than he already was. "You sure about this, son?" asked Jake, the arena manager, who'd rushed over when he heard what was happening. That bull's not scheduled for practice rides. He's supposed to be saved for the professional circuit. Mr. Morrison made a fair challenge, Lane replied, still smiling as he climbed the fence. Besides, every bull's just an animal trying to do his job, same as us. Morrison snorted from his position by the gate. You hear that, boys? Just an animal doing his job. Tell that to Tommy Martinez when you see him. Oh wait, you can't, because Tornado Negro made sure Tommy won't be talking to anybody for a while. The reference to Martinez, a promising young rider who'd suffered severe injuries attempting to ride Tornado Negro just 2 months earlier, sent a chill through the gathering crowd. But Lane seemed unfazed as he studied the bull below him. Easy there, big fella, Lane said softly, his voice carrying a gentleness that seemed out of place given the circumstances. We're just going to dance for 8 seconds, you and me. Tornado Negro's ears twitched at the sound of Lane's voice, and for a moment, the bull turned his massive head to look up at the young cowboy. Their eyes met, and something passed between them, not quite understanding, but a mutual acknowledgement of what was about to happen. This is insane, muttered one of the younger riders. Morrison's going to get that kid killed just to prove a point. But Morrison was beyond caring about consequences now. He'd made his challenge public, and backing down would mean losing face in front of the entire riding community. You got your rope ready, Frost? Because once that gate opens, there's no stopping what happens next. Lane settled onto the bull's back and immediately felt the difference between Tornado Negro and every other bull he'd ever ridden. This wasn't just raw power. This was intelligence, strategy, and years of experience compressed into muscle and bone. The bull's back was broader than most, his movements more calculated. Even standing still, Tornado Negro radiated an energy that suggested he was already 3 moves ahead of any rider foolish enough to climb aboard. Remember, kid, called out Morrison with a cruel grin, it's not about lasting 8 seconds anymore. It's about whether you can keep smiling while this bull teaches you what real cowboys already know. Lane wrapped the rope around his gloved hand, feeling the familiar texture of the braided leather. His heart was pounding, but his smile remained steady. Around him, the arena had filled with spectators, word having spread beyond the practice facility to nearby ranches and training grounds. Camera phones appeared, ready to capture what many expected would be either a spectacular ride or a devastating wreck. You ready? Asked the gate operator, his hand on the release mechanism. Lane looked out at the crowd, then down at Tornado Negro, who was now shifting restlessly beneath him, sensing that the moment of truth was approaching. Ready when you are, Lane called back, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet arena. The gate operator looked to Morrison, who nodded grimly. Turn him loose. The gate exploded open, and Tornado Negro launched himself into the arena like a force of nature. His first jump was pure verticality, straight up, almost 6 feet off the ground, twisting his massive body in midair with a violence that should have sent Lane flying immediately. But the young cowboy stayed centered, his free arm extended for balance, and most remarkably, his smile never wavered. The crowd gasped as Tornado Negro landed hard and immediately spun left, then right, then left again in a series of direction changes that had dismounted countless riders before. But Lane moved with him, reading the bull's intentions like they were old dancing partners. Each twist and turn that should have been a surprise became a conversation between rider and animal. Impossible, Morrison muttered, his confidence beginning to crack. No way he stays on through the next combination. As if responding to the challenge, Tornado Negro shifted tactics. The bull planted his front hooves and kicked his back legs skyward in a devastating maneuver known as a sunfish, designed to send riders tumbling over his head. Lane leaned back, his body parallel to the ground, trusting his balance and the strength of his legs to keep him connected to the bull. The crowd was on its feet now, phones forgotten as they witnessed something unprecedented. Tornado Negro's reputation wasn't built on luck or coincidence. This bull was strategic, methodical, and seemingly unstoppable. Yet Lane not only remained mounted, he appeared to be enjoying every second of it. 5 seconds, someone shouted from the crowd. Tornado Negro's frustration was becoming evident. The bull began a series of fence-crawling moves, running along the arena barrier while bucking, hoping to scrape his rider off against the metal rails. Lane pulled his legs up and leaned away from the fence, never losing his rhythm or his composure. More importantly, his infectious smile had begun to spread to some of the watching cowboys, despite themselves. 6 seconds. Morrison's face had gone pale. This wasn't supposed to happen. Tornado Negro didn't lose. The bull was supposed to prove that optimism had no place in serious rodeo, that smiling was a luxury real cowboys couldn't afford. Instead, he was watching his entire philosophy being challenged by a 20-year-old kid who seemed to find joy in the very moments that would terrify most men. 7 seconds. In a final, desperate move, Tornado Negro attempted his signature finishing move, a violent corkscrew spin combined with a backward lean that had never failed to dislodge a rider. But Lane read it coming, adjusted his position slightly, and rode through the combination as smoothly as if he were on a carousel horse. 8 seconds! The crowd erupted as the buzzer sounded. Lane raised his free hand in triumph, still grinning from ear to ear, and dismounted with a graceful leap that landed him safely away from the still-spinning bull. Tornado Negro stopped his bucking routine and turned to look at the young cowboy, almost seeming puzzled by what had just occurred. The arena fell silent again as all eyes turned to Morrison, whose challenge had been thoroughly answered. The old cowboy stood frozen, watching as other riders began applauding and cheering for Lane's incredible ride. Lane walked over to Morrison, his smile now joined by dozens of others throughout the crowd. He extended his hand to the veteran cowboy. "Mr. Morrison," he said respectfully, "I reckon you were right about one thing. This business is tough. But maybe being tough doesn't have to mean being miserable. Maybe the strongest thing you can do is find something to smile about, even when you're scared out of your mind." Morrison looked at the extended hand, then at the faces around him, faces that were no longer hard and bitter, but curious and inspired. Slowly, a smile began to crack the weathered lines of his own face. "Well, I'll be damned," he said, shaking Lane's hand. "Maybe this old dog can learn something new after all." From that day forward, the practice arena in Oklahoma became known for something different. Not just the place where tough cowboys went to get tougher, but where they learned that true strength came from the courage to stay hopeful, no matter how wild the ride got. And Tornado Negro, he never quite bucked the same way again, as if that 8-second dance had taught him something about the power of joy, too.